Do you know if your laptop can do the virtual backgrounds?
Yeah. You want me to do that?
I'm just gonna try that out. Let me know if this is
Oh, do you
too
have like a,
much. Is this too green?
it's very green.
Okay, let me find another color. Hello, welcome to the Long Form Conversations podcast, the podcast where we talk about long form improv. My name is David Long, and I'm your host. Today, we're joined by a very special guest. She is an actress, a comedian, a witch, and she is
Ooh.
manifesting SNL. Everybody, welcome Leah Knaur.
Hell yes. Long form conversations meets Knaur hour. Let's go.
Oh, I love that. Is that
Thanks.
something you have before?
Oh yeah, I've had that planned. I'm like, if I have a late night show or something, it's like, yeah, Knaur hour. It's just too easy.
And I love it too because it kind of trains people to pronounce our last names.
Yes. Oh my gosh, exactly. Because I'll be honest, until you just said it, I thought it was Luong.
Yeah, and a
It's
lot of people think
long.
that. It's long, yeah.
Love it.
Leah and I, we actually met in Groundlings class. Gosh, what was that? 6 months ago, maybe.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And right away, I just clocked Leah. I was like, oh, she's the one. She's got that it factor. She's the one to keep
Thanks.
track of.
We were reading the same book.
That's right, we were. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Was it, which one
Comedy,
was it?
comedy,
Yes,
drama,
Bill
comedy.
Od. Wait, why did I just say Bill Odenkirk? Bob Odenkirk's book. Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, just two scholars, two
Yes.
uh, healthy students of comedy.
Yes. Yeah.
Um,
I would say we're like equally obsessed with comedy, which I think is why we clicked.
yeah, and one thing that after class we got drinks together as a class, and one thing that we
Mhm.
both zeroed in on is just like, I want SNL, and you're like, I want SNL.
Let's go, baby.
So that common goal was just like, all right, well, game recognized game. Let's keep it going.
Yes. Let's go. Lift each other up.
We like to start off with just a little bit of like banter, just catching up. And it has been a minute since I've seen you, but I know you've been busy. I know that you've been doing a lot of stuff with your team, Adele Dazeem. Another
Hmm.
like thing I kept up with you is like, oh, I'm a big fan of that team.
Yes.
Leah does musical improv, and y'all have like a regular spot at West Side, right?
Yes, our first show, I don't know when this comes out, but our first show is April 10th. And then we have another one on the 20th, and basically every other Monday for the next 3 months at West Side Comedy Theater in Santa Monica. I like to say we are like an improvised pop girl group, kind of like if Spice Girls made up their songs on the spot. It's sexy, it's funny, and we all met in a UCB class, which I think is so special.
Something else I really like about that team. So I mentioned this before. I started. I was like a fan of yours when you were doing shows at Inner Sanctum, and I was like, wow, like not only very few. You see very few musical improv teams, but you see even fewer that are good. Um,
Yay.
I remember
I
when I
didn't say it. I didn't say it.
I know. I'm sorry. And for everybody out there, like I just started taking musical improv earlier this year. I'm not good either, but obviously that's something that takes, like with anything, it takes years.
Oh, it is a skill. And like improv alone is hard. And then you add on song structure, music theory, harmony. I mean, it helps that all of us have dancing. Yes, synchronized dancing. All of us have like a background in musical theater and we're all like songwriters or just musical people. But like musical improv is really hard and it's a skill. And I feel like I didn't feel confident about it until probably 3 or 4 years in.
Yeah. And something I will say is, even earlier, I think this might have been 2018, 2019 that I was watching y'all at the Inner Sanctum, and I was like,
Mhm.
they're all like, because, I think one of the important things is like everybody gets focused. And I was like, wait, they're all the lead singers. They're all the Beyonces because y'all are just so
Yes.
good at taking and giving focus, but then also just like
Yes.
owning that solo.
Yes. Thank you. I thought you were going to say what most people say, especially guys, they say they're all hot. That's
You
one
know
of our
what?
favorite
If
things.
if I didn't have an appreciation for musical improv, if I like was not paying attention and I was just like, tone deaf and like, They're all hot women. Yeah.
Hey, we love it.
Um, Another thing that I just found out about you, and I think to your credit, you're very like modest. You're not like constantly plugging yourself. But I didn't know you had, first of all, your own podcast, Basic
hmm
Witches. And
hmm
I listened to a couple of episodes. Amazing.
Oh, you did. Who
Yeah.
did you listen to? What episodes?
I'm not gonna lie, it was one of the last ones because it has now. Can you tell us about like what the status with Basic Witches podcast
Yeah,
is?
we are on hiatus for about a year. We stopped recording episodes because we're now developing our own movie, our feature film, which we're very excited about. We wrote the script in November, but it's been an idea that was conceptualized based on a true story. Like 3 years ago, when Gigi put a hex on my ex because he fucked me over and she put a hex on his keys. So the movie is inspired by that. It's called The X Hex. And yeah, we're turning it into a movie. So we did the podcast thing for like 5 years, didn't miss a week. And we had Margaret Cho, we had Tommy Chong, we had some amazing guests and learned so much. We like to say we went from basic witches to bossic witches.
Great. And the premise, the conceit is that you and Gigi are both witches, practicing
hmm
witches,
hmm
and you just kind of talk about. It's great. It's like it's honestly at the end of the day, even not about that. Because to me, when I was listening to it, I was like, this is about empowerment. This is about two
Yes.
friends supporting each other, and this is about like
Yes.
finding your own community, which is so awesome.
Yes. Yes. And like a witch, anyone can be a witch. You don't need like a degree or approval from anyone. And yeah, like you said, it's all about empowerment, which is what witchcraft was, especially for women and LGBTQ and marginalized folks back in the 1600s. Like we literally got burned for being different. And it's so cool that now we get to just use our voice and celebrate being different and celebrate being sexual people or weird people or whatever community you fall into. It's like, be you, do you.
Great message, and again, just like a really great podcast. So I know they're like not new, but if you want to check them out, how many episodes would you say you have?
Oh, please listen. They're sitting up there waiting. Probably, I mean, probably hundreds.
You said every week for 5 years.
Yeah, 4 or 5 years. And we
So
started
52
in,
weeks, five.
yeah,
That's like at least 200 episodes.
you do the math because I'm really bad at math. Yeah, and we started in the Comedy Store, like haunted basement, which was another level of like extra spookiness.
Great, yeah. So check that out. Yeah, like as I was listening, I was like, wow, strong friendships and
Mhm.
just really supportive, really warm, really positive
And Gigi
vibes.
is in Adele Dazeem.
Yes, of course. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
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 Then y'all met there, and y'all
Yep.
found out that you're both witches.
That's well, we weren't like quote witches at the time. We started hanging out, smoking weed, doing yoga together, was doing all this spiritual stuff. And we would often talk about the patriarchy and fuck the patriarchy. And eventually it was like, let's just have a podcast and talk about this and empower more women and more people.
Amazing, and I'm glad that that kept going. And I listened to a couple of the the pandemic episodes as well, and I was like, wow, okay, like that's I think if you can persevere through that, that's when it's like this is a good
Oof.
partnership, a good project, a good
Yeah.
committed thing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. Check it out.
Yeah. And then the last thing I wanted to ask or kind of catch up with you on is
hmm
you just passed what is it now called? Improv Lab
hmm
at Groundlings.
Yeah.
Sorry I missed your show. I really wish I could have come, but I had another show at the same time.
All good.
How
It
was
was
that
it
experience?
was great. There was 3 girls in the whole class, which was wild. I don't think I've ever had a ratio that low. I
Out of
mean,
16, is that right?
yeah, it was, well, it got lower I think it was like 12 or 14 near the end. But so there's 3 girls in the class and we bonded. We were like, let's stick together. And because sometimes people subconsciously or consciously like to pit women against each other in comedy. But I loved both of them. We loved each other. And then the one girl booked a movie on like week 10. She had to drop the class. And then the second girl got COVID like the night before our show. So in the show, I was the only woman. But you know, my class was great, and it wasn't a big deal, and they were supportive of me.
Have you been in that situation before? How do you deal with like that? Do you think that's a challenge, or do you see it as an opportunity?
Oh yeah. Great question. It's both. I've dealt with it for so long. I've been doing comedy and improv for 12 years, and it's made me very confident because it's like I know that sometimes people will talk over me or ignore what I said or assume that what I'm setting up is not funny, when I know it is. And so I've had to like take up space and own it, be loud, be heavy handed sometimes. And I've had women come up to me after shows and they'd be like, thank you. Like, I see what you're doing. But then it's funny because then I go to like class environments and teachers will be like, you gotta pull it back a little bit. And I'm like, yeah, yeah,
Excuse me. I'm guessing that was a
yeah.
sir. Excuse me, sir.
Uh-huh. How'd you know? But yeah, I think improv is a microcosm of Hollywood, which is a microcosm of our society. And women need to take up space and be bold and be loud and use their voice and not be afraid to like be too confident.
Absolutely great message, and I know you're not alone out there with that feeling, and hopefully people can see you as an inspiration. Are you going to continue? Are you going
Oh
to
yeah.
writing lab?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna take a little break because you know it's like
Yes.
12 weeks at a time. You can't miss really a class. So I'm gonna take a little break. I might do like a performance wow, which is a little less pressure. But yeah, I'm excited to continue. And this is all part of manifesting SNL. Um, which I also want to note with like manifestation and stuff, it's about having a clear vision, but not being attached to the
Hmm.
goal.
Hmm.
So, like, if I don't get SNL, it's not the end of the world. Also, I could be a host in 5, 10 years. Like, you never know. But once I like fully accepted, I want to be on SNL. I want to be bi-coastal between LA and New York and doing sketch comedy. And then because SNL makes so many careers. So once I accepted that, I enrolled in Groundlings and I just boom, 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 went through it really fast, which I might not recommend, but that's what I did.
Yeah, and yeah, thing I want to also mention is you're just so inspiring and so like such a great presence to have. All of your posts and stories, they are all about manifestation. It's not about you manifesting it. I think that's the most important thing. You're encouraging everyone, all your followers, all your friends, to be like, hey,
Yes.
what do you want? Post a
Yes.
comment or post a story of like what you're trying to manifest as well, because at the end of the day, it's all you know contributing to like whatever the big picture is.
Yes, thank you for saying that. A rising tide lifts all ships. And like, I feel so inspired when I see other people taking big risks and being bold. Yeah, I don't want it to be just about me. I want all of us, like, let's fucking do some magical shit together because it's so cool. Life is so cool, and we have so much more power than I think sometimes we realize.
Uh, Incredible. All right, great. Well, that was our nice little segment on bantering and catching up. I'm glad we had a chance to do that.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What are you currently manifesting?
Oh, wow. Thank you so much for asking that. Well, I'm currently manifesting. Obviously, I just started this podcast. I would like for it to blow up. I'd love for people that are, just in the community or even interested. I would like this to be uh, um, a video diary or like a video, a record of just like, hey, what are improvisers feeling at this moment in 2023? And if
Mm,
they are going to listen to it like now, they can see what we're all going through. But even in the future, if they want to listen back to this like a year from now, they're like, wow, and just a year ago, you know, Leah was,
hmm.
manifesting SNL, and then now she's got XYZ projects going on. So
Yes. I love
uh,
that.
I just want this to kind of be a nice little reservoir, or whatever you want to call it, for people to
Mhm.
like drink knowledge from.
And so it is.
Great. All right, on to our next segment, which is going to be Improvster Syndrome. this is an opportunity to talk to you and listen to your journey through improv and through comedy, through acting as well. But just want to talk about, some of the trials and tribulations and how you got to where you are now.
Woo! Where do I start? Well, I started improv in what was it, 2012. I started stand up first. I started stand up at age 19. Well, first, let's back up a little bit more. I have wanted to be an actor since I was 6 years old. It's all I've ever wanted to do is perform. In high school, I was voted most likely to be in High School Musical 4. And I wasn't even in the high school musicals in school. People just knew that I was always singing and dancing. Little Miss ADD. And so then I wanted to go to California to go to college, and I didn't get into any schools, but the farthest west I got was Colorado. And it was so miserable there. It was #1 party school. And I like to say it was all because of me. And then I went to rehab for a month when I was 19, and that was literally the lowest point in my life. The fact that I talk about it openly and like almost proudly now is I never thought I would do that. I thought that that would be a secret I would take to the grave. But now in hindsight, I see how it was such a blessing because that is the catalyst that got me out of college, out of Colorado, and I moved to LA when I was 19. So shortly after rehab, I moved here. Then I started doing stand up, and that was a great way of like processing the trauma that I didn't even realize I'd just gone through. And then from stand up, my roommate and my best friend at the time, she was in classes at IO West, and that sounded so terrifying to me because stand up, you write it, you prepare it, it's only you, you only need to depend on yourself. And like, I didn't trust other people, which also was like showing trust issues and other like emotional stuff. Improv reveals so much, I'm sure you know. Yeah, and so then I started doing improv and I was not good. And when most people do this, and I did this, it's like when you start comedy, you do what you think people think is funny, which is usually like offensive stuff that you've seen in movies, or it's like shock value. But then you slowly realize like, oh, that's not what's funny. What's funny is being in the moment and authentic and real.
That's such a really good point. I just
Yeah.
wanted to like pause on that for a second, just because like that is so true. And before people come into improv or stand up or just before people start to like really try to do comedy seriously, so much of it is just copying what they see on TV or what they hear stand-ups do, and a lot of that truly is just being mean, because
Yes.
for some reason being mean is funny.
Yeah.
Not to say that that's the only way to be funny, but that's probably what the mainstream would recognize, or what like it's very broad to make fun of someone and then think like, oh, that's comedy, that's like as funny as you can get. So
Yes.
and
And the culture has changed so much. Like in the past 10 years, I've seen it all change. Like on stage and off in the culture in comedy. And it's so interesting, and it's so for the best. I mean, with diversity, with empowering women. Yeah, it's like it was so needed, and it's shocking that it took this long for people to realize it.
So like I always like to say shout out to Gen Z for kind of doing that.
Yes. I'm so grateful for the young people, for real. Yeah, so then I started classes at IO West, and I was actually just talking about that this morning with my boyfriend. Like, I'm so grateful that I started comedy when I did, because there was so many theaters. I would literally do, no exaggeration, 3-4 shows in a night. I would bop from IO West main stage to the top level stage, then go to UCB, then do a spot at the Comedy Store. Like, I was performing so much, and I think that's how I got good fast. And people don't really have as many theaters nowadays, especially because of COVID, and it's like such a bummer.
And when you were performing at IO, was this as a student or had you finished the coursework?
Both.
Okay. How long did it
Yeah.
take you to finish because IO was 6, 7 classes?
Yeah, levels. Yeah, it was a lot. I actually did the intensive, which was awesome. for a summer. So it was like, I think we got to level 5 or something like that. It was really fast. Yeah, it was like every day and one level a week. And I'm pretty sure it was like 4 or 5 weeks.
Whoa.
Yeah.
So you really just hit the ground running.
Oh, yes. So once I stopped going to school, improv was my school, comedy was my school. And I was like, I just need to totally commit to this. Um, yeah, then from IO West, I did UCB, and I was always afraid of groundlings, which is why I saved that one for last because I know how cutthroat it is.
What was your at the time? I like kind of zooming back or flashbacking.
Yeah.
So iOS was something that your roommate told you about, so you felt
Hmm.
very comfortable. What was your first impression, or what were you hearing about UCB at the time?
Hmm. At the time, it was like when Lauren Lapkus was rising up, and it was like very alt and indie, where IO West was, I would say more, it was marketed towards like the actors improv because it was a lot of emotion and character and game, but it wasn't heavy on any of those. It was like all encompassing. And I love IO West because of that. It was like, there was no pressure to be super funny. It's like you can have a sad scene. Whereas UCB was a little more like talking head, a little more indie, alt. Also, like this was a time of Paul Scheer was really popular and like Shitty Jobs. And I was at UCB so much, but it was different. I mean, each school is so different. And I think every improviser should go to all of the schools because it's seriously so helpful. And you don't have to be any one way as a performer. You can take what you like and leave the rest.
Yeah, something that I think didn't really sink in for me until maybe like my third or fourth year as an improviser too is like you're just trying to find your voice, and I think so much of taking classes, you assume, or when you're still a student, you're like, how do I conform to your voice? But that's hopefully right not what the teachers are trying to do. They're just trying to open and giving you, like you mentioned, different philosophies, different approaches, different styles.
Yes.
You try them on until you find the one that's like, oh, this suits me and this allows me to open up. So whether that
Yes.
is going to be, was iOS, UCB, or Groundlings, it is hopefully you meet it at the time when you're ready to like express yourself,
Hmm.
and not just be like, oh, game, I just gotta do all game, or big characters. That's not me, but let me just put on
Mm. And
these
it all
voices.
helps.
It
It
all
all
helps.
helps.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because eventually
What?
you will need to be like, hey, I do need to be a big character, but this is
Yep.
not because I'm trying to pass a class. This is because this is the character that like I want to embody and I want to use to like convey my art.
Yes.
So you're at UCB,
Hmm.
and is this are you kind of, so you finished IO and now you're starting the coursework at
I
UCB?
kind of did all of them at the same time, which I would not, again, I would not recommend. Um, but whatever, here I am. Yeah, so I was doing IO West, UCB, and West Side Comedy Theater at the same time.
Oh wow.
Yes. And I did a summer intensive at Second City, Chicago, which was very cool to like be in the birth city of improv.
So was that online, or were you
That was in person.
you were going from Santa Monica to
Yes.
Hollywood to Chicago?
Yes. For summer, I think it was like 2 weeks. It was really fast. It was basically like with my best friend who introduced me to iOS
Mhm.
because she's from Chicago. So yeah, it was basically like a vacation, an improv based vacation. I was like 24 or something. It was very fun.
On your journey, so I just want to get this clear. You wanted to be an actress. You came out to California,
Yeah.
and it seems like it's a whirlwind romance with improv, and it kind of has a way of doing that. I've noticed where people are just like,
Hmm.
"Hey, I'm here to be a director. I'm here to be an actor," and there's like, "But actually, instead of all that, let me
Hmm.
let me take a million improv classes." So
Yeah.
give me some perspective. Are you also you mentioned that you're kind of booking stuff, so you're also auditioning. How does this fit into
Hmm.
your life? Like, how much of your time would you say is being spent dedicated to improv?
Oh my gosh, so much. I mean, like I said, I considered myself a student of comedy, and I was like, if I want to be a comedic actress, which I did and I do, I need to understand who I am. And I think I can best do that by getting on stage and failing and succeeding and failing again. And what's cool about improv and stand up and performing is it's finally something in the industry that you have control over. And instead of auditioning and not getting it and waiting to hear back, it's like I can get on stage tonight and know that I made someone laugh and made someone smile. And then that confidence can bleed into my auditions, because my auditions got better when I got better. And by better, I mainly mean more confident in my abilities and like less afraid to be weird and make a choice and not second guess myself.
Oh, great. So, what year are we at by the time you are, I guess, like done at UCB?
Mm, well, um, what do you mean done?
Well, I guess
I
true.
get,
You're never really done, huh?
yeah. Well, I finished like 401 in probably 2014, 2015.
Hmm.
And then I took a one-off musical improv class in, I think it was 2016, that we all met. And yeah, that was my last UCB class, but Adele Dazeem is born from UCB, so it still feels like we are a UCB team, even though we don't perform there really.
Well, of course, and I guess this is always the part that I get so interested in because I think this is where most improvisers find themselves caught, because we know what the beginning looks like.
Mhm.
It is taking classes and making practice groups. And we know
Mhm.
what the end looks like. It's when you're booked and busy and you're a
Yes.
professional. But it's that journey from like finishing 401 or finishing at iOS or finishing, whatever school to that I think always looks the most nebulous. And that's kind of, and you are someone that I think has navigated that very well. So I think a lot of people might appreciate to hear like what you were doing for those past couple of years.
Yeah. Think well, trusting yourself, trusting your ideas, and having the, in like manifestation, I call it inspired action. When you like have an idea and it's no longer an idea, it's like, okay, I'm going to do it. So improv and passing all these levels and having this new confidence was like, okay, now I feel like I am trained enough to write my own sketches. So then with an old boyfriend, I had a web series for like a year, and that was so helpful in writing and performing. And well, also too, like tweeting at Kevin Smith. Do you want to get into that?
Yeah,
Do you
yeah.
you know about that, right?
I actually do not know about this, so
Oh
I'd love to hear
shit.
about this on your
Okay.
improv journey.
Okay. So yeah, this is definitely, improv is to thank for a lot of this. So while I was in all these classes and training, it was 2015, I think. Kevin Smith is from New Jersey, and it was announced that he was going to shoot Mallrats 2 at the Granite Run Mall in Pennsylvania, which is literally one of the malls I grew up going to, and like shoplifted from. And so my cousin told me that he was shooting it there. So I was like, as a joke, I said to her, "Oh, I'm going to start tweeting at him." Because I was big on Twitter at the time. I was always tweeting jokes and, had like a pretty good following. And so I was like, "Oh, I'm going to start tweeting at him." And so then I started, and people started following along and commenting. They were like, "Oh my God, you have to continue with this." So then around like day 10, 14, I started to run out of jokes. I was like, I don't know what else I can say beyond like, "Put me in your movie, please." And then I tweeted at him for 278 consecutive days. There was a few days missed, but for the most part, that's how your face right now. You're like, holy shit.
Well, because I don't know the story, and when you said I tweeted at Kevin Smith, I was like, oh yeah, one at mention, but for 280 days, that's
Yes.
multiple tweets per day.
No, always one a day.
Good,
Sometimes it would be
restrained.
like, yeah, one a day. It would be like self-deprecating, or it would be funny, or it'd be like, here's what I'm up to. It would have like a picture of my headshot, or it was always different. And then people from the A View Askew universe, which is like all his movies take place in the same universe. people from the movies started following along and tweeting me and messaging me like, oh my God, this is so gonna work. Like, keep it up. I think it's so awesome. And so I just had to. And sometimes he would like it. He didn't really respond a lot, but when he liked it, it was like, okay, he hasn't blocked me yet. So that's a good sign. Then over time, and this is the biggest manifestation thing I've ever experienced, which is what has inspired me to teach more people and tell my story about this, because it's so cool. And it literally feels like a dream, like a surreal thing sometimes. So then I started to have friends who were very aware of what I was doing, and they would support me on this journey. So they would be like working with him or ran into him at a diner or, on set, and they would bring up my name and he would be like, oh yeah, I know who Leah Knaur is. And then one day, my friend Janine was working on set where he was supposed to be a special guest. It was a finale of this show. And she was like, look, I'll get you on set. I'm not going to do anything else. That's all you. So she got me a VIP pass, and I saw him on set, and I walked and turned a corner, and I very respectfully went up to him and was like, hi, I just wanted to introduce myself. My name is Leah Knaur. And he immediately was like, oh my God, bring it in. He gave me a hug. Then he goes, yeah, we're thinking of shooting in New Orleans. And I was like, like, yeah, okay, I'll be there. Like, I don't care where you shoot. And immediately he was just so cool and so nice. And we took a photo together, and Jay was there too. And it was just so surreal. And I'm so grateful for all of the support that I had on this journey, because I could not have done it alone. And then after we met in person, I stopped tweeting at him because it was kind of like, okay, it's a done deal. I'm going to stop bothering you. And then in 2019. So it was like a 4-year journey. 2019, went to New Orleans, which is, by the way, the most witchy city besides Salem, the most witchy city in the country. So it was like the fact that we shot there on this manifestation journey was just like so cool. And it was so fun. And I'm in Jay and Silent Bob, the reboot.
Amazing, great.
So
What a
crazy.
that is a very crazy story, and like really important. And I actually want to be careful with using that term crazy, because also this could have turned out very, very badly. Because could you imagine someone's tweeting at you for the better part of a year? You're
Mm-hmm.
just at work, you're just working,
Mm-hmm.
and then all of a sudden, hi Kevin, I'm here. What do you think
Yeah.
is I think having a good sense of humor about it
Yeah.
is really good, but like, just in case people are listening to this and getting the idea of like maybe I should do this, what do
Yes.
you think is the thing that like made this like not scary, not harassing, but like a
Yeah.
something that like that they can recognize, like, hey, here's someone that is, trying to do the darn thing.
Yeah. I think being grateful, and yeah, like you said, like treading lightly. And if he had blocked me and said like, please stop tweeting at me, I would have. And thankfully I unknowingly picked the perfect director, like Martin Scorsese. If I did it at him, like, no fucking way. But like
Yeah, he's a
Kevin,
TikTok guy, I think.
is he?
That's kind of a joke. I think it's his daughter. His daughter has a TikTok, and it's really just his daughter like doing things, and he's kind of
Oh,
just
that's funny. That's
like
funny. Yeah, it's like, what's
reading
going
newspaper.
on?
What's going on?
Uh-huh. Kevin, though, is like the whole story is a testament to how fucking cool Kevin Smith is. He is a huge film fan. He is like a hustler himself. He made a short film that went to Sundance, Clerks, and then that made his whole career. And he has a connection to Stan Lee, and Stan Lee helped him. So I think because of the journey he's been on, it was like you said earlier, like game recognized game. And I think he had an appreciation for me, like doing something bold. And, in Hollywood, we're told, or we're not told, we just pick up on these unspoken rules of you have to audition and do it this way and do it that way. But this whole story was like, no, you don't. You can make your own path and do it your way. But yeah, I would say have a sense of humor about it and be grateful, and be willing to stop if it goes too far.
Great, really good advice. Really, well, just like really good story to like hopefully get people encouraged and amped
Mm-hmm.
to try to manifest things and try to pave their own way. And if you're feeling frustrated with like submitting or with auditioning, like
Mm-hmm.
get on Twitter.
Oh, and I would say leave Kevin Smith alone. I think I put him through enough.
Yeah, I think, and that's the other thing, right? Be
Pick someone
innovative,
else.
be new. I don't
Yes.
think I don't think tweeting someone is gonna work anymore because that's already been scratched off the list.
Yep.
So try something
And it
different.
was so funny. People were copying me, literally
Mhm.
tweeting at Kevin Smith to get into the movie. And I was just like, I mean, I don't care. It's whatever. I'm glad I inspired them. But it was a little, they would go like 5 days and then they would stop and be like, yeah, because this is hard. It's not easy.
Mhm. All right, this is I think a really good segue into our next segment. Something that I really wanted to talk to you about because I didn't realize that that story was coming. So it's pretty amazing that like I threw this idea at you, and I didn't know that you'd have so much, just a wealth of knowledge to give us all. But we're gonna jump onto our topic of the week, and that topic that we kind of discuss is creating your own opportunities because kind of like I mentioned, so much of improv is like there's only so many set opportunities. There's the class show, there's a couple of jams,
Mm-hmm.
and then like every so often you can even pitching a show. I would say is creating your own opportunity from there. So I guess in
Yeah.
terms of like open submissions, it is few and far between. And you are someone that since I've seen you do so many shows around, I just know it's like well, I know they're not asking her. I know that she is out there, you know, paving her own way. So,
Mm-hmm.
can you talk to us about the ways that you kind of um, journeyed that? I think the Kevin Smith one is already a really good example.
Yeah. I think a big part of it is having a vision of the bigger picture. So, like you said, like a lot of people move here to be an actor and then they fall into improv. And then I think, not trying to call people out, but I think some people settle and they're like, okay, I'm going to teach improv. But it's like, well, wait, you moved here to act. So, if you're good at improv, if you love improv, you can use improv in other areas and facets of your life. And it doesn't have to just be on stage because, like you said, it's like you do the class, then you do the class show, then what? But you can use improv to write a sketch. Then you shoot that sketch and then you tweet that sketch at whoever you want to see it. And then that could make your film career. So I think it's truly a lot of it comes down to confidence and self-worth, which is not something that's just there. It's something you have to cultivate, each individual person. And it's hard. It's hard work. You have to be honest with yourself. And this can be in therapy or journaling or meditation. And my comedy got better when and my comedy and my career got better when I got better at being a human and loving myself.
I think you brought up a really good point there, and something that I want to kind of speak to because you mentioned that you kind of need to have that goal, or you kind of need to have that idea or that big picture
Yes.
already. And improv can't be the whole big picture. Improv is, I think, just a tool.
Yeah.
To
Unless that's truly what you love, because there's people who that's truly all they love, and that's great. Do it.
Yeah, in which case that is kind of already the like you mentioned, like hey, like if you wanted to be an improv teacher and you become an improv teacher, then that is you manifesting the original idea.
Yes.
But
Yes.
I totally agree with you. Where if your original plan was to be the next John Favreau,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're just taking improv classes, that's not going to get you to John Favreau. There's so many other things
Yes.
in between. Yeah, so I totally get what you're saying about making your own opportunities, or rather, just having your bigger idea. And for you, that has
Yes.
always been, like you mentioned, wanting to be an actor since you were
Mm-hmm.
6.
Mm-hmm. I've been manifesting before I had a word for it too, because I remember when I wanted to go to USC, that was my number one college I wanted to go to. I sent my application materials in this big manila
Mhm.
envelope and I decorated it with like stickers and drawings, and it was definitely like inspired by Elle Woods in Legally Blonde. That is my all-time favorite movie because it's a story of a woman who's being underestimated, told she can't do it. And then she's like, no, I can. This, like, I'm amazing and I'm smart, and watch me fucking study my ass off. Watch me show these men that I am capable and smart, and I'm going to be the best lawyer that Harvard's ever seen.
And she
Um,
did it her way.
she did it her way, and she
Made her own
wore,
video,
yes. Oh my
pink
God, the
stationery,
video. Yes, the
scented.
video. Yes. Oh, I sprayed my USC envelope. Yeah, she wore pink suits. I mean, yeah, you don't have to sacrifice who you are. I actually, that reminds me, when I was in stand up, I noticed over time that I was becoming someone that I wasn't. Like in stand up, it's very masculine, it can be very toxic, and I somehow turned into this person that was wearing flannel and wearing black and wearing sneakers, and I was depressed, and I was like drinking a lot, and it's like, wait, I was always this bubbly, fun, fashionable girl. And then when I started dressing the way I wanted to and still doing comedy, it was like, oh, that's who I am. I don't need to fit this
Mhm.
mold of what an improviser looks like or talks like or a stand-up talks like. It's like, be you. That is truly your superpower.
And speaking to that, like, you do a lot, and I guess I want to hear your approach to like how it fits into your overall goal. Because you got a podcast, you got
Hmm.
Adele Dazeem, you
Hmm.
do stand up. I've seen you do a couple of sketches as well. So like obviously
Hmm.
they're all good opportunities, good reps. But like, how do
Hmm.
you think that, or what's like if there is like the strategy behind doing it, or maybe it's just fun. Maybe it's just fun to do these things.
Follow the fun. Yeah, I also am a Gemini, so we are known for doing all of the things all at once. And yeah, it all inspires each other. I actually don't do stand up anymore. So that's kind of nice to have off the plate. And yeah, like following the fun, following what makes you feel good. If you're not excited to do something, don't do it. And I love leading my life with the mindset of like growth mindset of not needing to be perfect, going out there. Like for groundlings, my intention was, yes, manifest SNL, but ultimately make new friends and learn new skills. And when you simplify it like that, it's like the pressure is off, and it's like, yeah, so if there's something you want to do but you don't normally do that, like, oh, I want to direct a film but I've never directed before, it's like, do it. The worst thing that can happen is you learn. That's the worst thing.
Absolutely. I want to talk to you about an opportunity that I think again, you didn't know I had a podcast until like a couple weeks ago. I didn't know you had a podcast that's until a couple weeks ago. But like, let's talk about that as an opportunity in creating a
Hmm.
podcast. What was your original idea or impetus for starting Basic Witches?
Yeah. Basic Witches was born to empower people, make people laugh. And yeah, Gigi and I started at the Comedy Store, and our goal was to talk to spiritual people and non-spiritual people and artists, comedians, actors about their spiritual life, because we all have it. Even if you don't have a spiritual life, that's your spiritual life. And you lead your life believing that there is nothing out there. But we all believe something spiritually. And I think it's just so interesting. And yeah, we always wondered, like, what is a witch, and
Hmm.
how do you feel empowered? What changed your life? And learning from other people is how we all can help each other rise up. Um, and yeah, it was like just so interesting to hear from different people what they believe and how they lead their life. And that's helped me. All of this like wisdom
Hmm.
that I have about manifestation, it's all picked up from all the conversations we had with so many different people.
So when you first started it, you and Gigi started it together,
Hmm.
and the two of you had an interest, or were you already had some like expertise on the subject?
I would not say we were experts. We were definitely interested, and we were like, what is a witch? Um, but also like female empowerment is ultimately what witchcraft is.
Hmm.
And knowing your, actually not even female empowerment for anyone who subscribes to that. And knowing that nature is healing, nature is beautiful, we are all one. We have so much more in common than we do different. Even though the media or government or whoever will try to tell us otherwise, it's like we're all just humans doing our best. Yeah.
So I guess how did that idea come about? Because that's what I think is really great is when you find something that is again uniquely you or something that you enjoy talking about or never getting sick of talking about, and you decide, you know
Mm-hmm.
what, I want to start doing this on a regular basis for other people to experience. So
Yeah.
what was the idea? Who was it? You pitching it to Gigi? Did she pitch it? Did they pitch it to you?
We actually had like an October Adele Dazeem show coming up. This was probably like 2016, 2017. And we were making a flyer for it. And I think basic bitch was like a big phrase at the time. And, like bitches with their like Starbucks cup and fall leaves. So basic bitch was a big thing. And then witchcraft was starting to become kind of mainstream. And we on the flyer put like basic witches invited or something. And then later that night, because we talk so much about empowerment and the patriarchy and like yoga and smoking weed and all that, I texted her, I was like, let's make a podcast called Basic Witches and like find out what witches are. And yeah, we come to learn that witches are not these fantastical things in movies with warts and green skin and a big hat. It's like they can be beautiful blonde busty women in Los Angeles wearing pink and sparkly eyeliner. That's me for anyone listening. So yeah, there's like witches are among you. Actually, literally my mug says, oh, maybe you can't see it. I just took a DNA test. Turns out I'm 100% that witch. Oh, there we go.
Love, great mug. Where'd you get that?
My best friend Alexa gave it to me. She got it for me.
Oh, very sweet.
Yeah.
So I guess like you mentioned that started off at the comedy store.
Mm-hmm.
Did you have to? Was there? And this is like another thing about like creating opportunities. Was there like a gatekeeper or someone that you had to like get permission from to do that?
It's so funny how it happened. This was probably the beginning of my like, I was in therapy and stuff, but this was the beginning of me like really stepping into like, okay, I'm going to make better choices for myself and try to be more positive because I was not always this way. And even still, it's something I work at, which is why I post and talk so much about it because it's a practice. That's why it's called a practice. So I was in the beginning of my emotional healing, trauma healing journey, and I was doing roast battle. Do you know what roast battle is?
It's where people stand-ups trade insults back and forth.
Yes. So I was really into that world, which was super fun, but as you could imagine, very negative and like some people handle it better than others. And it was starting to wear on me, like people making fun of you in front of a room and then laughing at you. I don't know. So I was supposed to battle this guy, Mike Schmidt, and we got coffee one time and told each other our stories. So it would give us like ammo, so to speak, to write jokes about each other. And then like 2 weeks before my battle with him, I texted him. I was like, I'm so sorry. Like my mental health is not good right now and I can't handle this. So I'm gonna have to bow out. And he totally understood. He was so cool about it. And it was scrapped. Then like a few weeks or like a few months later, he was the guy named in charge of running the new podcast studio in the basement. So because we had this rapport and we had that kind of vulnerable moment together, I texted him and I was like, I'm thinking of having this podcast, Basic Witches. I also know that the comedy store is kind of witchy, so it kind of feels like the perfect place for it. And he immediately was down. And we were, I believe, the first all-female led podcast that started in that basement. And fun fact about the basement, this was very spooky to find out. That basement is where, because the comedy store is very historic, it in like the I think 1940s or something like that. In the basement it was a nightclub and they used to have mobsters come down there and they would do forced abortions in the basement. Yes. And there's even, it's still there. There's a tunnel in one of the rooms that leads to, like, I guess, I don't know where it goes, but at some point, mistresses or like people or prostitutes would come down through the tunnel or, you know, through the back door, and they would have these, maybe not always forced, but the tale is that they were forced abortions and for these mobsters. And yeah, so the fact that we had this female empowering show in this spooky, like dark, it was kind of like literally taking the power back of that space. And we had so many witchy, crazy moments. We had this medium come on as a guest one time, Brittany Lee. She's amazing. And she felt, oh my gosh, his name is escaping me right now. Andy, I want to say Andy Grammer, but that's a singer. It was not Andy Grammer. Who's the guy that Jim Carrey played in that movie?
Oh, Andy
Kaufman.
Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman. And she said that Tony Clifton, who was like his alter ego, she was like, I feel, this was in the kitchen. She was like, I feel two spirits here. One is like kind of a normal guy, and the other is like this crazy, wacky figure. And she was like, have things ever flown or been thrown in here? And one of the staffers was like, yeah, one time a stapler just flew across the room and we don't know how. And she was like, that was him. He's still playing pranks on you guys. He's still trying to mess with you guys. So it's so interesting. That place is, it does have negative spooky vibes, and it's not just because of the Mill comics. There's some real there's some real shit going on there.
Oh my gosh, that place is just seems like it's a boiling with negative energy.
Yeah. But we brought some positive energy down there and did what we could.
So one thing that I think is pretty great and pretty like inspiring is just you, again, finding something that you're curious in. You don't have to be an expert in, and just like wanting to turn that into art or turn that into something that you want to create. And totally. I just wanted to double check. Did you say you came up with the name first?
Mm-hmm.
That's so funny.
Why?
Because I think people can draw inspiration from anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that, and you know, I've gotten some flack for it, but I love puns, obviously.
Oh, I love puns.
I wrote a whole pilot screenplay, like the sitcom, just because I thought of a funny pun. I was like, that'd be a fun screenplay. And that's obviously, this podcast title is a pun. So like,
good.
Again, you can just draw inspiration from anywhere and just like, hey, that's a funny, like, you know, basic bitches is just like such a, it was such a
basic witches.
No, I know, but the original term that.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, I would never call you that. But like just something in the pop culture, for you to just take one little twist and be like, you know what, that's the whole idea.
Oh, totally.
It is great, and again, that's just like how small of an idea you can start with before you can like decide like make a whole podcast out of it, make a whole screenplay out of it, or write a whole stage show.
Yep. You know, they say people who like puns are very intelligent.
I don't doubt it. I really don't doubt it.
So we are very smart.
Yeah. Thank you. Wow. An excellent way to just tie this all back. So after doing the improv, after finding out that you can go on stage with truly nothing and get a word and sustaining a whole scene, I do think that hopefully people listening, like, you should have that confidence that you're able to do anything, even if it's not comedy related.
Anything. And it all starts with your mindset. So if you're telling yourself, oh no, I can't do that. It's like, you're right. You can't do that because you believe that you can't do that. But if you literally today, you can change that. And it's not going to feel true or real. It's going to feel uncomfortable. But if you then change it to, I can do that. I am capable of doing that. I am worthy of trying to do that thing. Actually, not even trying. Because trying is not to be like Yoda, but it's like, you don't try things. If you want to do an improv class, you're not trying improv, you're doing improv. So yeah, if you tell yourself like, I am worthy of doing that thing, then suddenly you will start taking action because thoughts lead to actions and action leads to things happening, change.
All right. You heard it here from the Jedi Master herself.
Yes, thank you.
I think it's a great way to end this segment. And
Improv we
now,
do.
exactly, yeah, right. Right when you said it, I was like, it's like I know this reference all too well.
Yes, there you go.
We're gonna go ahead and jump into one of our last segments, which is going to be our
Hot Improv Takes.
Hot take.
For this section, we're just gonna just do a quick rant off of something that we're seeing in improv. It could be something that we want to see more of, want to see less of, or maybe it's like, hey, it's like perfect right now. Don't stray away from this. So just your hot take on improv. Do you want to go
Okay.
first? Or you want me to go first?
I'll go first because I immediately have an answer.
Okay. Great.
Hot improv take. I think we're all done with the sweet, sweet baby. I think we've all seen it. We've all done it, and we can all move on.
Have you seen a lot of that?
Seen so much of that. So
Yeah.
much.
I wonder where that came from because I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yes. And there's this, for people listening, there's like this bouncing, and then you're rubbing your fingers like you have money in both of your hands. You're like, sweet, sweet baby.
Yeah, you're like a little goblin, and because it'll be like, the scene will be like we're baking pies, like, oh, we're gonna make those cherry pies, baby.
Those sweet, sweet cherry pies, baby. It's funny, don't get me wrong, but it's like when you see it every comedy show, you're like, okay, we all know that's funny. Let's have a new thing.
That's so funny that you point that out because I have seen it, and like, and truly, like, I probably have seen it in the last week, but not clocked it. But
Now you'll see it. Now that you're aware of it, you'll see it all the time.
good. So we're spreading awareness. So everybody, if you start seeing that in improv shows, you're gonna start noticing everywhere.
See
Stop
something, say something.
laughing. Yeah, do the right thing. Tell them not to do it. Boo from the audience.
Boo. That's sweet, sweet boo, baby.
Booze, baby. And I will say, like, having just done it 3 times, it is fun. I get
It is fun. I know, and we're laughing. We're having fun. But
Yeah. Save it for practice. Don't bring it up for the shows. On that same vein, here's my hot improv take. Stop falling in love in scenes.
Come on.
Such a easy back pocket thing. Here's the thing: if the scene calls for it, if it earns it, great. But I've seen it so many times where the scene's gonna be about coworkers. It will be about friends hanging out, for a reunion, and then you can tell they freeze. There's a moment where they don't know what's going on. They say, "I have something I need to tell you. I'm in love with you," and it's just like, come on. Like, I know that's they always say have a secret, have a confession, blah blah. And I totally agree with that. That's so valid and that's so true. Just stop making it romance. Stop making it, especially like when people are in a scene. They're in a scene with someone that they're the gender of this the character is the gender that they are attracted to in real life. It's like they're bringing their own like little like, ooh, I'm in a scene with a pretty girl. I'm gonna tell her I'm in love with her.
I'm imagining you on a real date in real life, and they're like, David, I have feelings for you. And you're like, stop doing the romance. Just stop falling in love with me.
Well, again, if it's a date, that makes sense. If it's a relationship, it makes sense. And I think we've seen it too. Sometimes it'll be like family members, right?
Oh, yeah. I'm not into that.
Yeah, I'm not into that. I'm not into it. And like I said, like obviously some scenes will lead to love. It's heightened. It's like warm feelings that heightens into love. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about, hey, we're gonna start a business. We're gonna start a lemonade stand, and then I love you. What? How do we get from? And to me, what I clock it as is like there are people that can like they see everything as like romantic or sexual. So like if the relationship is business partners, they're like, well, obviously we want to fuck, But the relationship is like, oh, hey, I'm here to sell you a car. This salesman wants to fuck me. So that's all I'm trying to say is like you said, like a lot of times with improv, it's like it's very telling of like who you are. And if you're doing that, I'm just like, hey, relax. Some people are just people. Some people are just friendly because they are friendly to you.
Yes.
All right. Last thing, we're just gonna wrap it up now with some plugs. So Leah, please plug away. I know you got a lot of great things to promote.
Plug it in, plug it in. Yes, come see Adele Dazeem at the West Side Comedy Theater. We have shows every other Monday for the summer, basically, I think in at the end of June. So yeah, in Santa Monica, if you're on the West Side, and follow us at Adele Dazeem LA. Follow me at Leah Knaur, LeahKnauer. I do a lot of shows around LA. I just wrapped yesterday a short film called The Ally, which I play the lead, and I'm very excited about that. And yeah, follow me on Instagram. I think that's the best way to keep in touch and come see me live.
All right, great.
Oh, and I have 2 of my own holographic oracle decks for
Yes.
sale. One is the Rich Witch Affirmations. These are money mantras, abundance affirmations that I used first to see if they work. And trust me, they work. My bank account is bigger than ever. My career is better than ever. I mean, truly, when you tell yourself positive affirmations about money or anything, it's like you see the results. So I have Rich Witch affirmations for sale and then journal prompts for bad bitches.
Is there a link for that or directly in your Instagram?
Yeah, also if you go to my Instagram, it's in my link in my bio. That
All
sweet,
right.
sweet link in that bio, baby. It
Oh
is
my
fun.
God.
I get it.
I think you gotta retract that hot improv take now because it is. We're just like, you know what? I love that sweet, 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 sweet baby, baby.
Yes.
All right, great. Well, so great to have you. So glad that you're able to be our guest, and it's just so fun to chat with you and talk about the thing that we love most: comedy
Yes.
and improv.
Yes. Thank you for having me.
All right, take care, everybody. See you next time on Long Form Conversations.
Bye.